Welcome back to the Chrysalis House YouTube channel. My name is Chrysalis, and today I'm going to tell you what I learned as an intuitive whose mom passed away of cancer. When I was 15, my adoptive mom passed away. She was my best friend up until that point, and so at that time in my life, I took her passing really, really hard. It became a really existential thing for me. At the time, I was not a fan of my dad, and I definitely felt like a victim to my whole entire life. And for whatever reason, I just knew that there was so much more to she passed away from cancer. I want to say a few years after she passed away, I started to tap into a sort of zoomed out perspective on what happened in the body. I was recently asked by a viewer, cancer is a chronic illness. How can you uncreate cancer? And so even though I haven't uncreated cancer myself, I'm going to answer this question the best I can in a roundabout way. Of all the cancers that my adoptive mom got, it was ovarian cancer. And you may have noticed I used the word adoptive mom. I just remember it clicking one day and knowing deep in my gut that the reason my adoptive mom got ovarian cancer over any other cancer she could have gotten was because she had never processed the feelings of anger and resentment and frustration towards her own body for her being unable to birth her own biological child. I was adopted to my family because my parents were unable to have biological children. At least that's what the explanation is in the human game. It's very interesting thinking about this. The reason this is a roundabout way to answer this question is because it points more not how to uncreate it, but how it is created in the first place. And so when we look at that, the sickness of an organ, then infecting the body, developing because of unprocessed emotions, and so much negativity and intensity being directed internally. It is very important to have two things happen in order to uncreate not just cancer, but any chronic illness. The first one is being completely fucking honest with yourself. And I experienced this as somebody who has uncreated her chronic illness. I needed to be extremely honest with myself about why this was happening. I didn't search for a logical reason. That wasn't what got me to uncreate my chronic illness. In the past, when I'd searched for a reason, it was logical, and that kept me stuck. It was all based in, these are the biological things that are going wrong, and this is why you're sick. But when I went for a soul perspective on why am I sick, it became very clear to me that this was something I chose for myself. It was something I created for myself. Another level that I think about is, what does whatever illness you have created on a consciousness level then serve to create in your life? What I observed is that my mom's cancer served as a wake-up call on several levels. But from what I saw, she did not answer in the way that allowed her to live more life on Earth. I firmly believe that her soul decided to create cancer in her body to give her a choice. Keep living the same way you're living, or change everything. Now, this isn't radical. You hear of people recovering from cancer and they change their entire lives. People recover from anything and they change their entire lives. What I learned is that illness is such an incredibly complex experience, not just in the human realm, but in the quantum realm as well. It can be very difficult to, from the human perspective, even conceive that we would want illness. It sounds like what a lot of people would call victim blaming, and I'm very aware of that. I am so very aware of that. The reality is, the process of uncreating anything in your life that you do not want to experience is a process of being in communion with your soul. Can somebody uncreate cancer? Yes. It happens every day. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that you can do to begin uncreating something you don't want to experience is be honest with yourself that on a soul level, this is something you want to experience. The second that you allow yourself to accept what you're experiencing by owning that you want to experience it, even if it's on a level that is completely inhuman, there is a sort of resistance that starts to dissipate. You start to get closer to being able to communicate with your illness in a way where it doesn't feel like you're powerless to it. It just feels like you're trying to understand it. Because if it's here and you want it here, then why? And that is the beginning to everything changing. If you can be honest about why, you are so fucking golden. Is it easy? No. It is incredibly emotionally intense, and I would be lying my face off if I told you anything otherwise. What I teach here is very emotionally intense. It asks you to reckon with the most deeply intense emotional parts of yourself. But on the other side is liberation that you may have never thought was possible. If this resonates with you and you realize the truth that you have created your illness, so did everyone else. It's okay. What matters is what you do now.